How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman
How many have you
Jordan, I'm not
indicted?
going to get...
There's a moment in every high-stakes confrontation where someone finally says, "But everyone's been thinking," but nobody's, and willing to state directly. That moment happened in a congressional hearing room when a ranking member looked across the table at the Attorney General and said 7 words that no witness in that chamber's history had ever heard before. "You have to be quiet. You have no choice." Not a request, not a suggestion, a statement of constitutional fact. And the reason those words had to be spoken tells you everything about what was really happening in that room. Congressional oversight hearings follow a simple structure that's existed for over 100 years. Each member gets 5 minutes. They ask questions. Witnesses provide answers. If a witness goes off topic, the member can reclaim their time. And the witness stops talking. It's not complicated. Attorneys general from both political parties have sat in that chair and understood these basic rules. Some have been defensive, others combative, but they've all grasped the fundamental framework. Until this hearing, Pam Bondi sat before the House Judiciary Committee for more than 5 hours. Throughout that time, Democrats tried repeatedly to ask substantive questions about Justice Department failures, particularly regarding the handling of cases involving powerful figures. And throughout that time, Bondi developed a clear pattern. Whenever a difficult question came, she would pivot. She'd bring up previous administrations. She'd attack the questioner's district. She'd discuss unrelated topics. She'd talk about anything except the actual question being asked, and she'd do it at length, consuming the precious minutes each member had to conduct oversight. Representative Jerry Nadler experienced this directly. He's a former committee chairman who's conducted these hearings for decades. He provided context, then asked a straightforward question about how many co-conspirators had been charged in a major case. Under Bondi's watch, instead of answering, Bondi launched into attacks on past impeachment proceedings, demanded apologies, brought up investigations from years earlier. Nadler tried to interrupt, tried to redirect, but Bondi kept talking louder and more aggressively until his time ran out. The answer he was seeking, 0. That's what Bondi was avoiding saying. This wasn't testimony, it was strategic time wasting, and Jamie Raskin, the ranking member, had warned her about it before the hearing even started. He'd pulled her aside, explained the rules, made clear that filibustering and non-responsive answers weren't acceptable. Her response was revealing. She told him directly, "You don't tell me anything. Think about what that sentence means." The Attorney General, sitting as a witness before a Congressional Oversight Committee, telling a ranking member he doesn't get to tell her anything. That's not just defiance. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how constitutional authority works. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notification so you don't miss our in-depth coverage of stories that actually matter. We're breaking down the news that shapes how government really works, and your support helps us keep doing it. Congress has oversight power over the executive branch. The Judiciary Committee has oversight over the Justice Department. When someone appears as a witness, they're there to answer questions under established procedures. They don't set their own terms. They don't decide which questions deserve responses. The members control the hearing, not the witness. Bondi's statement revealed she either didn't understand this or chose to ignore it. By the time Raskin got his own questioning period, the problem had become undeniable, so he did something unusual. Before asking his questions, he took time to explain the rules out loud on the record. He noted that they'd never had a witness who couldn't follow basic procedural guidelines, that in the committee's entire history, witnesses had understood the structure: 5 minutes per member, questions get asked, answers get given. If someone goes off on what Raskin called a wild goose chase, the member reclaims their time. And then came those 7 words. At that point, You have to be quiet. You have no choice. The phrasing matters. Not you should be quiet. Not I'd appreciate if you would stop. You have to. It's not optional. When a member reclaims their time, the witness stops talking. Period. Raskin was correcting a misunderstanding that Bondi had been operating under throughout the hearing, that compliance was somehow her choice to make. The committee chairman, Jim Jordan, jumped in to defend Bondi, saying she was doing just fine, and from his perspective, she probably was. Every minute spent deflecting and attacking was a minute Democrats couldn't use for actual oversight. But that defense actually proved Raskin's point. Doing fine in this context meant successfully avoiding accountability, which is exactly what oversight hearings exist to prevent. What makes this significant goes beyond one contentious exchange. These hearings were examining documented failures in handling cases involving powerful figures. More than 1,000 victims, 0 co-conspirators charged, names of vulnerable people exposed, all names of the powerful were protected. These weren't partisan accusations. They were documented decisions that demanded explanation. And Bondi's strategy was preventing those explanations from being given by refusing to follow the procedure that would force substantive responses. Raskin's insistence on the rules wasn't about procedure for its own sake. It was about making accountability possible without time limits and reclamation authority. Witnesses can simply talk until hearings end without answering anything. If they can ignore members who reclaim time, 5-minute periods become witness monologues. If they can attack questioners instead of addressing substance, oversight disappears entirely. Looking ahead, this moment raises questions about whether the executive branch considers itself subject to congressional accountability. Bondi's conduct suggested the answer was no, until she was reminded she didn't have a choice. The bigger question is whether this represents an isolated incident or a broader approach to avoiding oversight. Here's what's clear. Congressional oversight only functions when both sides accept the basic framework. Members ask questions, witnesses provide answers. When that breaks down, when witnesses believe they can participate on their own terms or not at all, the entire system of checks and balances weakens. 7 words had to be spoken that had never been necessary before, and the fact they were necessary reveals something troubling about where we are. For analysis that explains what these institutional confrontations actually mean for how government functions. Stay connected with Allura updates. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join a community that's serious about understanding the stories behind the headlines. Because understanding the mechanics of accountability is how you recognize when it's under threat.